I dropped the biggest clues on who tried to unalive Gary in this video, so keep watching. Welcome to C2, where I review my favorite shows, podcasts, posts, and everything else I see that needs to be talked about. Today, we're breaking down Season 8, Episode 5 of Sistas, titled Wounded Eros. Andi and Hudson at the hospital. The title Wounded Eros is a little ironic since Eros is the Greek god of love, desire, and fertility. In Roman mythology, Eros is equivalent to Cupid, but in this episode, you have Hudson, who believes that it's Andi who is out here playing these dudes to the left. Oh, poor Gary. Big bad Andi took advantage of him. But when you look at how Robin and now Jordan got caught up in Andi's drama, I do see why Andi felt a little responsible for bringing Gary into these guys' lives. But Hudson is really giving jealous boyfriend vibes. In the opening scene, we find out that Gary is still with us. He has now suffered a seizure. Hudson is convinced that it's all Andi's fault, just like he thinks Andi intentionally played Gary and Robin. Do anyone else find it weird that Hudson knows so much about Robin Autry? Maybe it's just me. Maybe all this anger is on the behalf of Gary and Robin. Maybe they all agree that Andi is the problem. Either way, Hudson is trying to solve the problem by keeping Andi away from Gary. He convinced the doctor to no longer give Andi updates about Gary's condition since he has power of attorney. How convenient. Andi tries to convince strangers that she cares about Gary by making a scene at the hospital. However, Hudson shut that down. Hudson got Andi day drinking and breaking stemware, but more importantly, he has Andi finally using her head as she realizes that she has let men like Gary manipulate her. Apparently, she's done. After she gets a text from who we later finds out is Jordan, she starts to question if Jordan could be a suspect. That's what I have been trying to find out, but we haven't seen Jordan since season 7. Well, look who showed up in episode 5. Not only Jordan, but also Penelope. So Penelope is out and about. And when I say about, I mean she bowed it. Because the way she came for Andi, Jordan was behind Penelope, quiet as a mouse. Look, I don't know what has gotten into Penelope, but as I suspected, she is on some revenge. I guess Andi is the first on the list, or maybe she is second to Gary. And folks, that's where the episode ends. So we will have to wait until episode 6 to find out why Penelope is coming so hard for Andi. Karen and Pam deal with an unhappy customer. Karen and Pam are still dealing with roots to riches, Rex Yo Edges, roots to riches, Rex Yo Edges at the salon. But did you see how Trey came in and suggested they settle? I'm looking at him with the side eye. He barely knows what is going on, or does he? Let me find out that he and that scammer are working together. Y'all, I just don't trust that dude. But that is the least of Karen and Pam's worries as their investor, Mrs. Marie, walks in on the protests. It's not looking good for Karen. Although I have been waiting 2 years for her to have those babies, I don't want anything to happen to jeopardize her pregnancy. Where the heck is Aaron? Where the heck is Aaron? Hayden gets a visit. Speaking of Mrs. Marie, she decides to pay Hayden a visit at the law firm. The reason for the visit was to have him review her new investment. What do you know? It's roots to riches, Rex Yo Edges. But Hayden is in his feelings. Hayden, why when you were butthurt, you gotta bash women. This character is a piece. Like Mrs. Marie said, don't pout, especially since it seems she saved his career. Fatima walks in after Marie leaves. So you know Sherlock homegirl was ear hustling the convo between Hayden and Marie. At least I hope she did. Hayden is definitely worried. He tries to threaten Fatima, but she ain't here for it. Y'all, I just want to know, what is Zakos and a Ziesta? It's like Zach has started his own cooking YouTube channel on Sistas. Sabrina dealing with employee drama. Sabrina gets a visit from another powder. Rich at the bank. Rich stay ready, like Janet Jackson. Anytime, any place. He don't care who's around. I mean, Rich chill out, dude. Brina just got her job back. They got interrupted just in time by Maurice and Paige. Maurice decided to use Paige's vintage pen pal. Who names a pen Pink Kesha? Is she for real? But y'all, did Paige call Maurice basic? Maurice? Really? The definition of basic must have changed. Sabrina had to put Paige and Maurice in timeout. Then she turned down Rich's lunch and snack offer to stay and babysit. After Rich leaves, Sabrina gets a cry for help. Call from Dani. Dani day drinking. After turning Rich down for lunch, Sabrina meets Dani, who is throwing back drinks like it's happy hour. The only thing is that it is actually lunchtime. So I'm guessing Dani is reacting to the disagreement she just had with Tony. Sabrina tries to get Dani to look at the situation objectively and rationally. But is there a rational bone in Dani's body? Dani explains that Tony is trying to change her and she is happy with how things are. She also calls him pushy. She also compares Tony and Preston. Of course, it's everybody except her. And I'm trying to figure out why Dani thinks Preston is pushy. I can't understand why Dani continues to enter into these relationships but get angry when these guys start to do things to show that they actually care about her. All I can say is, Tony, run, not walk for the exit. Sabrina's insight says a lot. It's okay to be happy with yourself and your life, as long as you are not lying to yourself. Sabrina better watch out. Telling Dani the truth will get you in the same boat with Karen. Just when Dani starts to go in on just how horrible Tony is for signing her up for the leadership program and wanting her to talk about her feelings. Guess who showed up at the same lunch spot? Tony and Rich. Atlanta must be really small, but Sabrina, you have some explaining to do since you turned down Rich earlier. Looks like we will get the details in the next episode. And that was pretty much what happened in episode 5. Suspense and theories. Although Hudson is off the suspect list from the first attempt on Gary, I don't know about the second attempt, especially since the second attempt didn't finish Gary off, which I think was on purpose. That injection seems to have been conveniently administered at the right time, which was just before Andi arrived at the hospital and security was out. Then you have Andi, who was first rejected, then ushered into the room in time for Gary to react to what was injected into the IV. Hudson played a major part in making sure Andi was in the room. Also in this episode, he revealed how much he knows about Andi and Robin's situationship, which I'm sure he knew because Gary was so focused on ruining Robin, like he was focused on doing the same to Jordan. I agree with Sherlock homegirl, Fatima. And what son? Zach. Robin could be in on it. He was, after all, the one who sent Andi to the hospital. Then Hudson set her up to be in the room when Gary just happened to wake up and have a seizure. Like Mrs. Marie said, Andi wouldn't hurt a fly, but it appears Fatima and Zach thinks that Mrs. Marie would. I would have to disagree. I don't think a smart, successful, and mature woman like Mrs. Marie would get her hands dirty. But Penelope, who seems to not be acting like herself in this episode. Maybe. She has the motive. And now she seems to be about that life. The way she just handled Andi and Jordan, he has some explaining to do. Where has he been all this time? He's really quiet over there hiding behind Penelope. What could these two be so upset about? I know it's not about that fake marriage. Andi already told Jordan that she didn't love Gary. So what is Penelope's problem? She is looking a little sus. If Andi is a person of interest in the attempted unaliving of Gary, what's got Penelope so mad? Is it because she thinks Andi beat her to the punch, or is it to distract attention from herself? Someone who wanted Gary to pay for what he did to her and their baby. What was your favorite scene in episode 5? For me, one of the best scenes in this episode was the scene when Penelope and Jordan showed up. I think that was the most exciting scene we got. I can't wait until next week to see how this scene plays out. Predictions, okay. So now that Jordan and Penelope showed up in episode 5, absolutely nothing has changed for me. They are both still suspects on my list. This side of Penelope is looking like she could have pulled it off. But Jordan and Penelope are too easy. I think them showing up is just to throw us off. Really think that it's someone from Gary's past, like his ex. The scene with Mrs. Marie only made me double down on my opinion that she wouldn't get her hands dirty with Gary. I also think that she would hire a professional. She can afford it. And this wasn't a professional job. What do you think about Penelope and Jordan? Do you think that one of them is guilty? Let me know your thoughts and theories in the comments below. If you enjoyed this recap, give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe and click the notification bell, as I will be releasing videos recapping each episode this season. As always, thanks for watching.